Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Peter Christian. I'm here with the host of the show, Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Diane has been helping buyers and sellers with real estate in the Missoula area for over 20 years and is very active in the Missoula community. Along with her trusted partners, Diane provides complete service for your real estate transaction. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on newstalkkgvo.com. 98.3 FM and 1290 AM. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Missoula Real Estate Today. I'm Peter Christian. Diane Beck is not here, but we're doing twice as good because we have two guests in the studio from Homeword. We have Katie Sadowski and Brendan Moles. Now, you guys this isn't your first rodeo, so welcome back to the show, both of you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thanks for having us, and Diane Beck for allowing us to have this opportunity to come in and talk to you today.
Well, we got a brand new year going on, and so I know that you folks, if you don't mind, Brendan, you're kind of the head dude there at Homeward.
Not even close.
Well, you're up there. Okay. So
he likes to think that.
Tell me a little bit about how 2017 went for Homeward.
2017 was a good year. Peter, as you, we're a private nonprofit that is, our mission is really making sure that all households of a lower income have access to safe, affordable, and healthy housing. And so we have gotten a lot of projects off the ground. We just completed Sweetgrass Commons, which is the new housing project that we have right in Silver Park. Beautiful location, right by the river, right by the baseball field, convenient to the hospital, convenient to grocery shopping, just centrally located. Really nice place to have it. Where and you also have those new developments going in, which are $300,000 housing. So it's nice to have that mix in there.
So tell me how you were able to get this in such prime territory at a price that folks can afford.
Well, it's I have to say we have a lot of support through the city, the state, the county, and the federal government, and we get a lot of financing through those means in doing so, and as well as taking on debt ourselves. So it's just a combination. It's a partnership of a lot of hands coming together and making sure that we can provide this. We also just purchased the Creekside Apartments. Now this is an apartment unit. I think it has 160 units, if I'm not mistaken, 140 to 160 units. It's Creekside's apartment building right across the river from the university.
Oh wow!
So if you remember the Cobblestone, it's just west of the Cobblestone Apartments.
Okay.
Before you head out to East Missoula, and these were units that were affordable for a certain period of time. There's an affordability structure from the owners that had it to create these units, that they got these tax breaks, and I'm not sure if it was 15 or 20 years they had to remain affordable. They were coming to market. These guys were getting ready to sell, I think, within the next 2 years. Those units that investment could be sold at market rate, which means when a new owner comes in and purchases it, they can raise the rents on 140 to 160 households.
Right.
We stepped in and purchased those units in order to keep them affordable so these people would not be displaced.
Now, the same thing happened with the Wildflower Apartments.
That is correct.
I had a chance to visit with the nice folks at, I think, the Missoula Housing Authority. And they said it was like $8 million was the purchase price, which sounds like a lot, but there were like 93 or 96 units there. And some were 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Yeah.
And at the same deal, they were able to keep them. Because let me ask you this, Brendan Moles with Homeward, if the Creekside Apartments had sold to a traditional
private investor,
private investor, and they wanted to charge rent, what would the average rent be?
Oh my gosh, Peter, I couldn't even venture to guess. I'll tell you what, I live in a little townhome complex.
Right.
There's a 3-bedroom, 1.5-bath unit. It's about 1,100 square feet. They're $1,200
a month.
A month. Think about that, $1,200 a month.
Right.
I take my dogs to Greeno Park quite a bit, and now we're talking prime location. A duplex, brand new, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, $2,300
a month.
A month rent.
Wow. Now that's not counting utilities or any of the other stuff.
That's
right?
absolutely correct.
Wow.
Now you're talking prime location,
right.
Different kind of.
Sure.
Yeah, but so the, rents vary tremendously in town, but we're finding that it's becoming more and more expensive for anybody to live in Missoula.
Right.
And it's stretching budgets. And with Katie here, that's what her expertise is the financial the budgeting and the working with households and figuring out what's affordable to them.
So let me ask you, with Homeward taking over the Creekside, what are the average rents there, or is it income dependent?
They are. It's now Missoula Housing Authority and Homeward have separate kind of different structures.
Right.
Housing Authority do have units that come with some rent restrictions on them. Ours are restricted as per what can be charged. We don't have a sliding scale. We'll take Section 8 rental vouchers, which is a voucher that from the federal government passed through to the state, to the Housing Authority, which allows clients then to use to rent a home, and then they usually pay about 30% of their income, and the voucher will cover what the cost is between their 30% contribution and the actual rent.
What a blessing that is.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Our units are not, we take vouchers for our units, but they're not, we go through, and I'm really out of my expertise for the organization, but we go through a HUD guidelines, and HUD sets the limits on terms of what's the max rent that can be charged for a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or 3-bedroom unit.
Now, you're the housing services coordinator.
That is correct. However, that's kind of misleading in the sense that I provide home buyer education. So we, as a nonprofit, we own and we develop and own affordable housing, whereas we will develop from the ground up like Sweetgrass Commons over in Silver Park. We'll take bare ground and build. Unlike the Creekside, which is an existing structure that will go in, and there may be units that need rehab, and we'll rehab them and make them healthy and safe and affordable. So we'll do both sides of that housing. However, we believe in the continuum of services. We've had clients that have rented from us that are lower income households that have rented that have gone on to purchase a home. And what we offer is the continuum of services. We offer rental counseling, financial counseling, rental education and financial education, as well as home buyer education and counseling, and foreclosure counseling.
Oh, yeah.
So that, you asked what housing services coordinator do. That's what I do. I work on the education and counseling aspect of it.
Because what I see happening here is a break in the chain, if you will, of poverty. Because I grew up really poor. Okay, my mom and dad got divorced. We moved to from Virginia to Helena, Montana, where we lived in a basement with no bathroom. There was a hole in the floor. That's what we used for everything except number 2. Wow. So anyway, and eventually we were able to move up to a point where we got a small trailer, and then I was able to get this job and live a fairly comfortable life. But that was a total blessing to me. But generation after generation after generation of folks in Missoula and throughout Montana sometimes go from just bad to worse, or even just a little bit better. And this is an opportunity for them to break that chain, right? Especially with the education part. So Katie, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that my job is a part of dealing with the reality of actually obtaining that opportunity.
Sure.
So like the waiting list for those Section 8 vouchers is anywhere from 2 to 5 years.
Right.
And then getting them into a place where they can still afford the rents if they don't have those vouchers. It just takes a lot of steps to that. So, that's why it takes the entire package of the education and then the one-on-one counseling to continue to coach them to learn the real skills it takes to manage their money,
right,
so that they can break that chain. Because those people in poverty are so concerned of like today and tomorrow. They don't ever think they're going to get out of it. It's sometimes takes a while to convince them or teach them how they can. They have to take quite the leap of faith.
There's a 4-letter word that you guys are headed toward, and that 4-letter word is hope. Okay, because when you've been in that situation, and your parents or your grandparents all have been in that situation, and you've grown up in it, you kind of expect that's what's in store for me. But tell me how you guys start the germ of hope and make it grow. What kind of things do you do?
I find people are really encouraged through my class. It's mostly skills-based, but there's a little bit of, hope, that kind of
hope
soft
building,
skill,
right, yeah,
hope building
right,
that's in there. And I show them the people who've done it and what it's taken for them. And then through the one-on-one counseling, because they essentially have me as their personal coach, and there's no limit on how long they can work with me.
Wow.
And there's no cost.
And
We
there's
don't
no
do
cost. Yeah.
Right.
I can show like, okay, so we've had a success here. Now we got to move here. What's holding you back? That kind of individual attention gets anybody pretty far.
Now, having worked, my friend Brandon Smith teaches Financial Peace University, okay? And so whether you're rich or poor, I would recommend that to anybody because it is a wonderful opportunity to learn some really basic skills. And again, the hope aspect is when you get that $1,000 put away for your emergency fund, okay? For some people, that's a huge thing. They've never done that before, you know, and so they realize, gosh, if the furnace breaks down or the refrigerator breaks down, I won't have to go into Hawk to get one. I've got the money to buy one. And so tell me about that and how you work toward that. And I realize it's a different program, but you do similar things.
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to speak to that. It's like, you know, the zooming in on the details. That's like what I call the budgeting skills and like then seeing that in your bank account. I also zoom out and tell them, okay, this is what it means for you. You are no longer a tree pushed over in the wind of the economy now if you lose your job or something like that. Right. You are a rock. You have that financial stability. That's what it means for you. So our class teaches you everything you should have learned in high school.
Well, take me through that.
Yeah.
Because we've got a half an hour. So
oh, okay.
Yeah. I want to hear it because our listeners are, I will bet there's a good portion of our listeners sitting on every word. Shut up, Peter, let her talk.
Oh my gosh. Well, and Brendan will tell you that there's so many eager people to buy houses, but they really have to work hard and drill down on that budget in order to get to the down payment they need to make a monthly payment work for their debt ratios. And even then I'm saying some words that are crazy. So the whole focus of the class is to basically teach folks the language of their financial world so that they can navigate it. Then I focus on helping them feel comfortable asking educated questions of the professionals so that they can advocate for their future. So that's the underlining objectives of the course. The actual content that we go over first is budgeting and money management. So we just talk about general debt and how cash is king and the value of payment plans. And also the real skills involved in budgeting.
How do you deal with credit cards? Because I know the temptation is so huge.
Yeah.
I know that when my kids were in high school, getting ready to graduate, all of a sudden the mailbox is full. You know, especially if they're headed off to college. Our credit card offers this. Our credit card offers that.
Oh yeah.
And so how do you deal with that from your perspective for folks who are already in it?
Well, and I looked this up before you came here. I'm kind of proud to say that like Magnify Money did a survey and said on average Americans were $1,000 additional in debt for Christmas, and they thought it would take them 4 months to get out of it. Well, CNBC did a survey that said, 15% of Americans are still paying off 2016 Christmas debt. So we start at ground zero. Ground zero is knowing your own money behaviors and what you can handle. If we figure out someone has that discipline and the financial capacity to pay off something, doing a zero interest transfer might be a great option for them. But that's the thing. You're doing Russian roulette there because you transfer it and in 8 months you're not able to pay that off. They back charge interest on all that.
Right.
And
now let me ask you, do you primarily work with couples, singles, what?
I work with everyone. I'm proud to say that I've worked with he was in high school, so he was 17.
Wow.
I've worked with a 68-year-old in building her confidence around judging whether she had enough money to make it. People were telling her she would, but she didn't understand it herself. I work with a lot of like pre-divorce couples or pre-child couples or couples pre-marriage who just have no system for not fighting about how the bills are paid. It's not that they don't have the capacity to do it. It's that they don't have a simple system to just get it done.
And there is a prevalence of especially couples who have had, chronic financial problems.
Yes.
There's a lot of guilt.
Yep.
There's a lot of shame.
Yep.
There's a lot of blaming going on. There's a lot of built-up resentment. Well, you bought this. Well, yeah, well, I only bought this because you bought that. And so how do you, as a counselor, when you sit down with these folks, obviously you see it all.
Oh, yeah.
So how do you break through that?
I go back first to the hard skills. So all that other stuff is unnecessary. All those are symptoms of the fact that they don't have the hard skills. I mean, like the literal money management skills to come up with how they should pay their bills. So I call that money mechanics. I first do a map of how they organize their money with their bank accounts.
As it is right now, right?
Right now.
Okay.
And oftentimes what I find is there's 2 individual accounts, 1 joint account, several credit cards on either side, and bills are being paid out of multiple different ways.
And nobody knows where it's going.
And exactly, it's too complex. So we work on a system that habit stacks, meaning it makes sense to them. It doesn't matter. I just give them the concepts. They make it make sense for themselves. I
Right.
help them through that process. And we come up with a way that we can at least create a budget off of it so that we can track. And there's some type of way to monitor really only 1 to 2 expenses. I mean, we're talking about monitoring basically your groceries and your eating out. And if you can put a bottleneck on some of that, the floodgates get lessen, the money leaving. And then it's a simple system that's predictable every month, and there's no more blaming. The other way couples do it is they keep everything in their head, and they're like, it's a tit for tat. And they're like, you paid this, I paid that, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why people ever do that. I don't think I'd be married currently if that's how we...
Well, let's put it this way. The tendency is for people to get a little bit lazy, especially over long-term things, because your finances are a long-term, lifetime deal, right?
Uh-huh.
And so what happens is we find something that works for a month and we figure it's going to work for the rest of our lives, but it doesn't because your circumstances change. Maybe your job changes. Maybe your income changes.
Oh, yes.
And so you have to stay. That's why having a system like what you're talking about here, to say, okay, let's plug this into the system.
Yep.
That Katie has talked about, and go from there, right?
And I work with men and women and all ages, so I really vary between very simplified versions of this concept and more detailed, complex, because I know what's going to appeal to that 17-year-old young man is different than what's going to appeal to a couple.
I want a truck.
Yeah. Well, or just even, no. Like the 17-year-old, he's never going to fill in my Excel worksheet.
Right.
It's too much detail.
Sure.
He's not going to do it,
Right.
But the other tagline I sell is having what I call a living, breathing budget.
Wow.
So if it's all dead, if you're doing your budget after the fact, the month is gone, it doesn't help anybody. We need to make this living and breathing. So I make people do it on the 15th and the 30th when they get paid usually.
Sure.
And that way we have time to make a change.
Now, do you sit down with them on those days, or do you set it up so they can do it themselves? And if you do that, do you check up on them? Do you give them a call?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Are you kidding? My favorite part.
So are you a nag or what?
No. My favorite. I don't think anyone's called me a nag yet, except maybe Brendan. Jeez, Brendan. No, so they come to the class. That's the best way to kind of get all the info.
Right.
And then I see people once a month.
Okay.
If they want to come every other month, that's fine. And what I love is that folks, when they first start coming to me, they don't think I'm going to be very thorough and go through the action plan and go line by line and be like, did you shop around for better car insurance? Did you figure out what your health insurance deductible is? Have you called the collection person? And they're always surprised. They're like, wow. If anything, I'm not a nag, but I am very thorough. And I think that can be hard for people, but I'm really friendly and positive too. So it's never daunting. It's just, there's always something to do.
Now, do you go so far as to introduce folks to the credit scores?
Absolutely.
Okay, so talk to me about that, because again, folks, I grew up really, really poor. Yeah. I had no idea what a credit score was. Nothing. I had no clue.
I think there's a new dating app out there on your phone that you can swipe left or swipe right based on credit scores.
Are you serious?
I may be. I think if not,
they should. They should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned earlier, I mean, in terms of heading, into a relationship, I mean, let's be honest, what breaks up relationships? Number one is the bedroom, and number two is finances.
Yeah.
I think I turn those around, actually.
And they're interchangeable. Well, they are. They're interchangeable.
Right,
so,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's really important. I think Katie's absolutely right. When you asked her originally, if there's a couple, do you see one or both? And I think it's really important to have both involved. I mean, it's really, sometimes it's difficult, but Katie's very flexible. I'm not so much because I'm much older. So I'm not as flexible anymore.
There, listen to this.
But Katie is really good. I mean, she'll work with people's schedules so she can get both of them in the office. She'll stay later in the evening. She'll come in on a weekend day, perhaps, if it's the only thing that will work for them to get them both there. With regard to credit is so essential. Unfortunately, it is so essential in our society today. Our home buyer class, our max capacity is 42 people in our class. We offer it monthly. That is the only service we charge for at Homeword. It's $25 for an individual, $40 for a household. And a household could be mom, dad, and a son, which I have this month. I have 3 people in the class. It's $40. It's the only only fee that we charge. The renter education, the financial fitness education, and all our counseling services are totally free, no cost, and there's no limitation. But with regard to credit, I'm seeing a lot of, and Greg will be the first one. Unfortunately, he's not here, but
Greg Harper,
Greg Harper at Real Dynamics, he'll tell you, my children don't know what brick and mortar are. Everything's app. They don't have a relationship with any financial institution. It's all online. It's all their phone.
Right.
They don't, and they don't really understand the concept of credit because mom and dad has been very helpful, have helped them create some, but they don't carry that forth.
I will tell you, I have a friend, a gentleman that I work with, because my wife and I have been struggling mightily to get debt free, and we're really, really close. Okay, paid our house off, so just some little things to take care of.
Congratulations.
And he kind of shrugged. He says, "Why are you concerned about that?" Because growing up, he saw his parents always had a house payment and a car payment and a truck payment and all that. Everything seemed to be fine. So it just seemed to be the norm that when you start your own life, you get into debt. That you've got this payment, you got that payment, all these obligations, and whether it's a lease on a car or instead of buying a car or whatever. And to him, it was, why are you so worried about everybody's in debt? Who cares? And so how do you deal with that situation when you come across it?
I would say 25% of my clients are probably 55 and above age-wise. And it is, I was just saying to my girlfriend the other day, I think a lot of us enjoy the fact that there are consequences, natural consequences to our actions. But I tell you what, it is just really tough to watch someone have to bear the consequences of those of those decisions when they are older and no longer can work, and you're getting yourself to a place where you're lowering your living expenses so that you can live off of the income that you've saved for the rest of your life. And when I work with people in that age range who have nothing saved or only a few thousand at age 45 or 50, we are in the danger zone, and we're in a position where I'm counseling them to not be homeless, to not live with their kids, or and what kind of social services are available. They're very dependent, and I try to get people to a place where they are not dependent on the government and they can have their own autonomy. I mean, that's the situations we're looking into when we're talking about those natural consequences.
Sure, yeah.
Or if it was someone who hadn't paid off a house, they'd be selling their house, which they maybe wouldn't want to do in order to be okay. I mean, the whole talk of long-term care, and then you're talking about Medicare and Medicaid and how seniors end up.
And all those things, all of us baby boomers are in the retirement mode.
Yeah.
And we are blessing people your age for continuing to work so you can support our Social Security and Medicare.
Well, I won't get too depressing, but the trustees of Social Security and Medicare just came out with their report a few months ago.
Yeah. Not looking good.
Not looking good. Yeah. I think by 2022, the reserves are going to start to be tapped, and not much longer after that, they'll be gone.
Right.
So, and then we're only funding it at 70%. Anyway, that's one of the reasons I feel so passionate about this, because in my opinion, I'm not a defeatist person. If folks get the memo, like my generation, that Social Security might not be there, we're going to rise to the challenge. We're going to do what we need to do. It's fine. That's our reality. But if nobody gets the memo, which unfortunately financial literacy in our country is so low, if no one gets the memo, of course people are going to be mad.
By the way, we're talking with Katie Sadowski and Brendan Moles from Homeword, and I know we're kind of going far afield here.
Sorry.
But
that's great. My fault.
But this is all great information.
Yeah.
Why is it that there isn't a basic balance your checkbook class in every single high school. Why don't they?
The only answer I've come up with that, because I ask it all the time, is that someone told me they used, and maybe you folks know this, they used to teach that type of thing in home ec. And when home ec got cut, I don't know, like those home ec was a life skill. I assume it. I never had it. I assume it was.
They don't teach shop class anymore either.
Let's start at this level. I mean, let's talk about, it's kind of the really big picture, but the federal, I'm not pointing the finger at the federal government, but balancing a budget.
Right.
If they can't balance the budget up here and they're cutting now home ec and other education that is not, they don't believe is essential in the schools, that's why it's happening. Their funding is getting cut. And so where do they go? The first thing to cut in schools, they go to arts and they go to stuff like the home ec. And but I absolutely agree with you. I think it needs to start so much earlier. So it needs to be brought into the household. I think the adults have to take the responsibility to take over that lesson.
And I think that I think only 12 states in the country require financial education as a part of high school. So
let's move there.
Yeah, right. Because I have met some people from the South who've moved here who've said, like, I had this in high school. And I was like, well, you are awesome.
Well, believe it or not, we only have like 3 minutes left in the program. So if you don't mind, so Brendan, I'm going to ask you to just kind of cover the things that you do and the services that you offer. So for our listeners out there say, hey, I need that.
Absolutely, Peter. Thank you. Again, I am the facilitator of a monthly home buyer education class. It fills up. You can go to our website, which is homeword.org, HOMEWORD.org, under classes and services, and sign up for any of our classes, be it home buyer education, financial fitness, or rent-wise workshops. We offer those on a monthly basis. And then we offer counseling services. Counseling services, you need to call us directly. 532-4663 is our direct line. Katie, look for her name in the directory. It's extension 23, and my extension is 14. Talk to us. Come in and see us for our counseling services. Pre-purchase, post-purchase, foreclosure counseling, renter counseling, and financial counseling.
Okay, so how about you? What do you do, and how do we contact you?
Well, I think Brendan gave the contact information. Right. Those are the best ways. I would just say, please come check out our class. Everyone who leaves the class is so thankful they came, because if you feel like you're really great at budgets, you probably didn't know about your credit or student loans or taxes. We go over those things as well. We go over insurance, how to calculate your debt ratio and talk to bankers. Investment, I help people with their retirement strategies.
Right.
There's so many facets to the goal of buying a house, or to the goal of getting to the top of the mountain, I say, of financial security, that we cover all of them.
And you know what? Financial savvy is sexy. No, it really is. You just mentioned that, like the swiping left and right.
Yeah, that's true.
If you come across somebody who's not the least bit financially literate, they're out of there. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
No.
Or they should be.
They should be. I know. I deal with those couples that I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. But real quickly, what do you enjoy most about your job? Start with you, Katie. Give me 30 seconds. What do you enjoy most?
I love watching the fortitude of my clients persevere, because I tell you what I do is not hard. It makes me feel really smart because nobody knows about it. But in reality, once I give these people the education, they take it and run, and they accomplish things that are incredible. And you watch that confidence grow, right? I watch it, yes. It's How about beautiful. You, Brendan? What gets you going in the morning? I think we're both very passionate what we do, and it really makes us proud and our organization proud to see what we do. And I think both of us, including Mr. Harper, who does a wonderful job in the community as well, it's just being able to share our wealth of knowledge and experience with these folks and see them, whether it's they can do these steps in 1 month or 3 years. We see people come back continuously, and eventually they're going to send us a testimony and say, thank you. You made a world of difference in our lives, and that's what does it for us. Thanks to Katie. Thanks to Brendan from Homeword. You guys are awesome. Thank you very much. And thanks to Diane Beck and Windermere Real Estate. And for all of you folks who listen every week on Missoula Real Estate Today, lots of great information today. Hope you'll join us again next week right here on Missoula Real Estate Today. Until then, have a great day. Thanks for tuning into Missoula Real Estate Today. We hope you found the information over the last 30 minutes to be helpful. If you have any suggested topics for future Missoula Real Estate Today programs, or any questions about buying or selling real estate,
please email Diane. Here's the address. It's Diane Beck at Realtor.com. That's Diane Beck at Realtor.com. We'll see you next week on News Talk KGBO.com, 98.3 FM and 1290 AM.